force. They were firing taser, hit journalists with taser. The journalists advised them that they were journalists, bona fide press journalists. They tasered them, they fired paintball bullets at people, and they used the back of their rifles onto people. They smashed the aft door, which is the big glass door. They had people on the deck and they were standing them, pushing them around in this broken glass. They eventually made it up onto the flybridge of the boat where myself and the skipper were. We weren't harmed. They did move us about a little bit forcefully. They made sure the skipper was stayed at the controls, and then they asked me to assist with the bilging of the bilge waters on the vessel and engines of the vessel. Then taken back to the port of Ashdod, we were told to follow another boat. They wouldn't tell us where they were taking us. They wouldn't tell us why they were taking us. They were advised that it was an act of piracy. We were in international waters, approximately 79 nautical miles from the shore. They refused to speak to us. They told us that we were breaking their rules, that we were breaking Israeli law, and that we were just to follow. They were armed, and what we had was peaceful demonstrators who were advising they were attacking a peaceful flotilla. We returned then to Ashdod. I was one of the first people taken off the boat and processed. As I had to go back to work, I said I would sign the deportation order. The rest of the crew and passengers aboard the Challenger1 refused to sign this, as did the journalists, because they are journalists. They will necessarily need to re-enter Israel for their jobs. So I received then reports when I was up in the detention centre that there had been summary beatings of people ashore in Ashdod, an exhibition thing, something like the Romans with the beating of people in front of lines. I was refused sleep while I was kept in the detention centre of Ben Gurion. They kept the lights on, they played music, they were out smoking, they refused us cigarettes, they refused us to go to the toilet when you needed to go. They were generally unkind and pleasant. I must thank the Irish ambassador, Refni O'Reilly, who came out to see me yesterday, and also was very helpful to other members of the European community that were in the detention centre, and advised their retrospective ambassadors of who was in the detention centre.
Can you describe first the mood of your crew and maybe the other members of the flotilla? Tell us, did you see the shots that were fired on some of the Turkish activists, and also the suggestion by Israel that there was force used by some crew in the flotilla, or there was some homemade weapons used? Can you tell us anything about those allegations?
Well, I didn't see any evidence of weapons being used. I mean, I did see when the Israeli Defence Forces or terrorists attacked the Mavi Marmara, I did see rubbish bins being thrown off the deck of the boat. When they came on board our boat, it was purely non-violent and verbal protection of. It was the crew on board, the activists on board, made sure they were trying to get us time to upload video, trying to get us time to get the boat safe and restrict access to the flybridge and controls of the vessel. There was no sign of any of the weapons I've seen demonstrated by the Israeli Defence Forces were typical equipment that you would have on a ship. A knife for a galley, a sailor has a knife. They also showed a sledgehammer. It's quite common to have a sledgehammer on a merchant vessel for anchor cables, etc. There was nothing on display there to show that there was any weapons. Also on the cruise liner, when we dropped off our two German MPs to go on board, they had a screening system, as you would see on most cruise liners nowadays and any airport, where they actually check your bag through an X-ray. They also had electronic detectors that they checked the MPs with before they were allowed on board. So, to my mind, this allegation was a little bit drawn out by the Israeli Defence Forces.
At any time did you fear for your safety or for the lives of the passengers and crew?
I did fear for the passengers and crew. I mean, we were trying to get the boat from into a position of safety. We did our best to get the boat moved, and we did. And if we thought somebody was in danger, a lot of us would focus our attention on the soldiers and say, we are calm and peaceful. They seem to have picked out a couple of the activists for special attention, like Huwaida seemed to be thrown down on the deck and pushed around a lot more than some of the others.
Right now, do you know any of the people who tragically died, or?
No, I don't know any of the names at the moment, but they were all on board the Navy Marmor, I believe.
And the figure is 9. We keep hearing the figure 9, and then sometimes have you heard any exact figures?
The figure I heard was 10.
Can I ask you how you feeling about what happened?
I'm disgusted that the Israeli acted in such a way. I mean, to my mind, it is an act of piracy, a terrorist act in international waters, on a flotilla of people involved in a peace humanitarian aid mission to Gaza.
Would you do it again?
Yes. And again, and again.
How would you like to see progressive? What do you think you can do to your right to rest with the ordeal that you and your colleagues have to face?
Well, I hope that the members of Dáil Éireann and Seanad Éireann will form a committee and talk to the Israelis on this, and I expect our European Union partners also to put pressure on the Israelis and get them to allow convoys of this sort through.
Given a lot of the cargo on board is banned by the Israelis, is this always going to be just a symbolic gesture, just to show the people of the world to blockade Gaza? You're never going to land the stuff.
We were hoping to land the stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous that they won't let half of the cargoes through. I mean, it's humanitarian aid, basic requirements of any nation to rebuild a nation, to rebuild a state. Homes. There was stuff for schools. There was medical equipment. I flew home with the Swedish doctor, and she was telling me of the medical equipment she had with her on the trip. They also had foldable sheds that they could use as classrooms. They could use as storerooms.
It must be noted that many of these goods that are not allowed into Gaza have very little logic behind them. It does seem to be a feature of the occupation that is specifically put there just to increase the strangleholds, to decrease the quality of life for the people within Gaza.
Goods that we would all take for granted.
Exactly.
I mean, then on top of this, the Israelis, when they attacked our boat, they went straight for the journalists. They didn't want the journalists to photograph. They tasered Kate Geraghty of the Sydney Herald Times, is it? Yeah. Like Sydney Morning Herald, that's the girl. They tasered her. They ripped Paul McGowan's satellite and laptop links. They were very rough with the two journalists that were up on the flybridge. We also had a journalist, Scott Hammond, who was making a documentary and had been posting up on WitnessGaza.com. They went for all his gear. Anybody that had any electronic recording equipment, they took. I mean, they took my mobile phone because I might have had something on it. Any electronic gear that could have been used. They didn't want anybody, the world. They didn't want the world to see what was happening on board these boats. The only stuff that has got out has been what the Israeli Defence Forces